Pre-warning, this video is probably going to make you feel very, very, very itchy by the end of watching this. But I've been dealing with something that I feel like I'm just about getting on top of now for the past couple of weeks. And that is an infestation of tropical rat mites. So I feel like a lot of people would just not talk about this and pretend that it didn't happen because it is disgusting, it's horrific, it's honestly so annoying to deal with that I just want to never ever deal with this or think about this again. But there is such limited information about this on the internet when it comes to pet rodents that I feel like I have to talk about this. It was not something that was really on my radar until it happened, and now I'm very much aware of just how much of an issue this can be if it gets into your home or if it gets into your population of pet rodents, whether that be rats, because they are called tropical rat mites, but they can affect any other rodent you've got. Mice, harvest mice, gerbils, everything. So you're probably wondering, what are tropical rat mites? If you have rats or mice or even hamsters, then you should be aware they do have mites on them, common mites to them in small numbers. They don't usually cause issues and you can't see them, they're not visible to the human eye, but you will start to see issues if their immune system is lower or they've got another issue with them that's causing them to then become a problem. You'll see them scratching, getting scabs, then that needs treating, but they do have them on them most of the time and they don't cause any issues. Just like us as humans, we do have mites in our eyebrows and our eyelashes. So sorry if that information has just ruined your entire day, but most mammals do have species specific mites on them that we can't see. Tropical rat mites, on the other hand, are a lot less common. I haven't really heard of anyone having to deal with this until the last year or so. They're a lot less common, they're bigger, and you can actually see them. So they kind of look a little bit like fleas at first. They're like tiny, tiny black specks. They get bigger as they start to suck the blood of their host, and they are a nightmare to get rid of. They can travel hundreds of feet away from things to find a host. They can survive quite a long time on their own without having a host body to feed off of, and they can lay eggs in things like wood or skirting boards, things like that, and then reappear in about 3 months' time. So where do these mites come from? Although they are called tropical rat mites, they are found in the UK, probably also in America, Australia, places like that, and they probably are on our wild rat populations. They could also be coming in on your bedding or your food. I'm not entirely sure if dogs can bring them in if they find them, if they're running through grass on walks and then they're transferring onto your pet rats. I'm not really sure because there's not a whole lot of information out there. When I was trying to Google this and frantically find as much information as possible, there isn't a whole lot out there. So they come from somewhere outside, and this is probably why a lot of overly cautious people, I'd say more so in the hamster community, advise to freeze your food, your bedding. But when you've got such a big bale of bedding for rats and mice, freezing that much bedding is not always possible for everyone for something that might not happen. So not something that I have ever done. Maybe it came from the bedding, I don't know. The place I do buy my bedding from, although it's all sealed up, they do have this outside in the storage place, so I don't know. So this all started, I must have come into the pet room a good couple of weeks ago, probably at the start of the year to be honest, and I'd come into the pet room, fed everyone, and then I went into my bathroom and I looked down, there was a tiny, tiny bug on my hand. And I took a video of this and then sent it to my best friend, being like, what do you think this is? And she said, it looks like a mite. And I was like, yeah, I agree. No idea where it's come from. Because in my mind, I knew that you couldn't see typical rat mites, typical mice mites. I had no idea where this had come from. So that was that. I'd seen this and then I just kind of forgot about it because I didn't see anything else then. for a good couple of weeks. However, and this is where it gets horrific, I was getting really itchy legs at night time, and my boyfriend was completely unaffected. He wasn't itching or complaining that his legs were itchy in the night at all. Just me, and I just thought it was me being extra sensitive, because if you've been following along, I'm allergic to a lot of things at the moment. Bananas, the rats, my voice is going, sitting next to the rat cage right now because I'm allergic. So I just thought it was me being extra sensitive, that I was waking up in the night having to scratch my legs to death. But I think possibly it was because I come in here, say goodnight to them just before I go to bed, and then I go to bed. So maybe there was something going on. I never saw anything. I was literally like at 1 AM shining a torch on my legs because I was so confused why I was feeling so itchy, and just even like thinking about it now is making me feel really itchy. But yeah, that was the second sign that I thought something is not right. And then a couple of weeks after that, I came into this room to give the rats a good deep clean, and that's when I noticed they have this one big like white rope toy, and I looked at it, I was like, there's tiny little black specks on there and they're moving. And it was one of those things I'm like, how did I not notice this? Because I come in here, I take pictures, I take videos, I then go away and edit those pictures and videos, and I've never seen anything like that moving in any of the videos. How did I not notice this? I do think I caught it quite early on, but it was one of those things, as soon as I noticed these tiny bugs moving, I then was seeing them on everything, and then on the rats, and then on things around the rat cage. How did I miss this? So safe to say I freaked out. I am not squeamish when it comes to bugs or illness or injury really, but I think I was just so overwhelmed that I had come in here to do a quick cage clean, and then suddenly this was going to be a much bigger job. I just knew instantly that this was going to be a massive issue. And if you don't know, I have chronic illnesses that make things like cleaning the rat cage really difficult for me, so that then becoming a much bigger issue and task, I just wanted to cry, to be honest, because I had no idea how to deal with this. I'd seen other people have a similar issue, and I just knew that I had a big task ahead of me. So the first thing that I did was just to pull the rats out of the cage and check them over. My two Burmese boys are a bit younger, probably have a better immune system. They only had like 1 or 2 crawling on them. My head is literally itching at the thought of this. They only had like a couple crawling on them. Kinder, my one that's white and grey, they were a lot more visible because he's white and they're like tiny black dots. He was, when you kind of like lift his fur backwards to actually look at his hair follicles, he was riddled with them. And I don't know how I missed this. I feel awful. When you look at him just generally, you couldn't really see them. Maybe like a couple teeny tiny ones. But pulling back his hair, there was so many on the back of him, just crawling everywhere. So I treated all of the boys immediately. I always keep anti-parasite stuff on hand. I gave them all a good treatment, picked off any that I could find, and then put them into the bathroom. I then just completely gutted their cage, took all of their cage items out, their ropes, their wooden toys, plastic toys, everything in there. I took it out and just dumped it into my bathtub, and then just turned my like shower extension thing onto like boiling hot water and just drenched everything, because I needed to do something whilst I then went away to research what to do instead. I just like boiled the heck out of these items, filled the entire bath with boiling hot water, and you could see them kind of like coming off of things and like floating dead on the surface, so that kind of helped. So yeah, I think I did that about 3 times, just filling the bath with boiling hot water, draining it, then filling it again and draining it, and just boiling and killing off all of those like adult mites on the wood and the items. Some things weirdly they were more drawn to than others, like ropes that really like buried themselves in there. Did that, treated the boys, then just completely emptied and cleaned out their cage, sprayed it, disinfected it, and then put a really small amount of bedding in the bottom because I knew I was going to have to do a lot more cleaning than usual, and the poor boys had nothing in their cage, just bedding and water and their wheel for a week because all of their stuff then had to go into the freezer, which I'll talk about in a second. But annoyingly, I just done over Christmas, just done a sort through and got rid of a lot of my spare rat supplies, thrown a bunch out, and most of their stuff was in their cage, which was now like contaminated, so they didn't have anything for a week, which was for their own good, but I felt so bad for them. So I then went and froze all of their stuff in the freezer. Some things I did have to throw away, unfortunately, because they were just too far gone or they wouldn't fit in the freezer. Things like their big branches that had ropes round, I've just thrown those out because I can't freeze them. And freezing these items, although all of the adult ones kind of fell off and died in the bath, there could still be eggs laid in like the cracks of their wooden toys, hidden away somewhere. So hopefully I froze everything for about 48 hours. I think that should hopefully have killed off any eggs in there. So when I reached out to a couple of people for advice, and I do know a handful of people, mostly people that keep large numbers of rodents and have rodents coming in, they have all had to deal with this. And they, when I first told them, they were like, I'm so sorry because this is such a pain to deal with. Most of them did recommend to just throw like everything wooden, everything fabric, rope, that kind of thing, just completely throw it away, but that's not cheap. I really don't want to throw away some of the things I have in my rat's cage because they're not cheap. It's not cheap to replace an entire rat cage worth of toys, and I guess this is the benefit of not having a naturalistic setup because most things in there are wooden, not plastic, that's easy to clean. So yeah, I could have thrown everything away that was recommended to me, but I just didn't want to. Some of the people that I have spoken to that did have experiences with tropical rat mites in the last year or so did unfortunately lose animals to this, mostly smaller rodents like mice or gerbils, things like that. Because they do suck the blood of the animals, it can make them anemic, and then that can cause other issues that then cause them to pass away. So although I wasn't too worried about my rats, I was so panicked that the mice were going to get them and they were then going to also start to pass away or something. So I took all of the mice out as soon as I realised the rats had something going on, checked them all over, looked in the bedding. Luckily, and since then, I have not seen a single mite on them or in there, thank God, but I have treated them just in case. So yeah, that first week when I first noticed these tropical rat mites, all I really did was treat the rats, treat the mice, treat the harvest mice, treat any rodents in this room, and then clean out the entire rat cage, take all of their stuff, boil it, freeze it, and then I needed to have some time to come up with a game plan because I have very limited energy to do this entire room all at once. That day that I discovered those, it was not possible for me to do everything in here, and also the mouse enclosure, the other enclosures, all at once. I just couldn't do it. So I just did what I could that week and then started to kind of come up with a plan going forward of how to try to eradicate these from this room entirely. So I was recommended this Indirects Defense Spray by Verbac. This I got recommended by a rescue that I know that has dealt with this recently, and when you're like frantically googling what to do about this, there are so many product recommendations that come up. it's hard to know which ones to buy, which ones to try, and which ones are going to work. I just went for the one thing that someone that I know personally has used. No idea if this is going to have eradicated them or not, but I Amazon Primed this the next day after everything when I first discovered them. First thing I did with this was spray outside of this room around the door frame and kind of on the floor, just to kind of create a barrier to make sure the mites weren't leaving this room and keep it all isolated in here, which does seem to have done the job. I have not seen them anywhere else in the house since. Just maybe if I've been leaving the room, they've been like on my hand or something. I have not seen them anywhere else, so I think it worked. But yeah, just beware, although their main host is rats or rodents, mice, hamsters, gerbils, things like that, they can still bite humans and cats and dogs. Although they can't live on them long term, I don't think, they can still bite them and irritate them. I'm so itchy just from like thinking and talking about this. They can still bite them and irritate them. Luckily my cat and my dog seem completely unaffected. Even my boyfriend hasn't been itching. Just me when I've been coming in this room. So I've also been changing my clothes afterwards, changing, not having like socks and shoes dragging in the rest of the house, washing my hands, things like that, just keeping it as sanitary as possible. So what I did about a week later, I took a week to kind of research and conserve my energy to try and be able to tackle everything in this room at once, because I do try to space things out. I don't always do a deep clean of the rats, a deep clean of the mice in the same week, because that will just kill me off and make me exhausted. But I knew I had to tackle this, and I don't know if I've done a thorough enough job or not, because I've just done the best that I can. But basically what I did was I got all of the rats into a carrier, a clean carrier with the bedding changed in there. I treated them all again a week later. I got all of the mice into a carrier, treated them all again a week later. Treated the harvest mice, put them into a carrier. Also then put Orbit into a separate room. Orbit is my leopard gecko, by the way. Put every animal in this room into either the bathroom or my office, just for like a 24-hour, I think it probably was a bit longer than 24 hours to be honest. And then I just completely gutted and deep cleaned in here just to try and get rid of these freaking mites. So I deep cleaned the rat cage, I deep cleaned the mouse enclosure. I also switched the bedding the harvest mice were on from a bioactive soil. I just completely got rid of all of that and switched them back to a bedding that I can change more often. I also got rid of any other like substrates in the room that were open. So they did have a big dig box of soil next to the rat cage that they would go in during free roam. That has been thrown away. They had a box of like tissue and packing paper and packing peanuts. Those all got completely thrown away just to be sure they weren't like hiding in anything. I then just went around and gave the floor a really good clean. We bought this really good like 2-in-1 vacuum mop thing recently, so that's had a good clean. To be honest, it's been a good excuse to actually like give this room a good clean anyway, but did that. And then I just went around this entire room with my indirect spray, and I've sprayed everything that I can with this. The skirting boards, the radiator, the cat tree next to the rat cage, because some people again told me to just throw this away. I would like to not have to. If they come back with a vengeance in like 3 months time, then I might have to be a bit more brutal. But sprayed that with this spray, sprayed all of my like storage boxes. I've got like fabric storage boxes in here that I don't want to throw those away either, so everything has had a really good spray with this. And obviously you don't want to spray this with your animals in the room, so everybody got moved out for about 24 hours, Orbit a little bit less because obviously she needs to have the heating and everything, which I can't easily take out of the room. But I had this room well ventilated, open the window, open the doors, obviously still have my little like barrier on the floor to stop any mites going out. But yeah, sprayed. I've used like almost the whole can, just spraying the heck out of this room, spraying like the shelves, everything that I can possibly spray has been sprayed with this. Now, when I was looking online at other people's experiences and what they'd done about this, some people recommend using diatomaceous earth. Basically, this is just a really, really fine, like glassy dust that you put down and it kills mites. I chose not to use this because I don't want anything that's going to really upset the rats or the mice's respiratory systems. Even us as humans, it's not good to breathe this in. I don't have anywhere else in my house to move everyone longer term whilst this stuff is down, so didn't want to use that even like outside of the doorway. I don't want my cat breathing this in, so I chose not to use that. And then it was just a case of moving everything back out of the freezer into the rat cage, putting more things into the freezer. They've gradually been gaining things back that hopefully shouldn't have any mites on, but I just don't know how to be thorough about this. Online, everyone recommends just like gutting your house, cleaning every inch of your house, making sure you wash all of your rugs and bedding and clothes and all of your pet stuff. I just don't know, when you have one washing machine, how do you then cycle everything so that the things you're then putting back then don't get mites on? I just don't get how you ever like fully know you've got rid of this issue, because I can't clean my entire house all in one day or even one weekend anyway. It just takes too much out of me. So this is like a chronically ill rodent owner's nightmare, to be honest, because I don't know how you do it all. But yeah, general recommendations online are to just clean all of your rugs and carpets, spray them with something like this, clean all of your skirting boards, spray all of your skirting boards, make sure you clean as much of your like bedding and clothes as possible. Just try and do as much as you can, probably more than you think you might need to do, just to make sure they're not on anything they shouldn't be. But yeah, I'm not naive in thinking this is over. I know it's not. I know from speaking to other people, they do all of this and think, okay, I'm on top of it now. And then in 3 months, they have another surge of this happen. And it's just a continuous nightmare. Luckily, I've not really seen any since. I have seen a couple of like straggly ones. One was up on the shelf above the rat cage, but nowhere near in the numbers they were when I first discovered them. So I'm hoping those ones might just die out. My plan going forward is to just continue treating everyone on a regular basis, treating the rats, all of the mice, just making sure they're not having a host to like suck the blood from, and hoping they might die out that way. And then maybe like once a month or however much I need to, repeating, doing like those big deep cleans where you just take everything out and then spray parts of the room with this. I'm hoping doing that is going to be enough. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention one thing I have been doing is I did buy all new bags of bedding. So I bought all new bags of their shavings, hay, cardboard bedding, things like that. And I've been keeping those out of the room instead, only briefly bringing them in when I need to, and then taking them back out just in case they might start to then affect the bedding, because that then makes cleaning them out pointless if they're in the bags of bedding. Just keeping the bedding separate so that doesn't get like contaminated also, and they can have fresh bedding. So that's another thing that I've been doing that I forgot to mention. But yeah, that is what we have been dealing with for the past couple of weeks, also maybe a month at this point. It has been a nightmare, let me tell you. I don't know how I haven't been more distraught over this, because my health has not been good the past like 2 months or so. Dealing with the stress of this on top of that, I'm not thriving. I'm incredibly stressed, worried about them, worried about my entire house. Honestly, if I could just snap my fingers, like set fire to this entire house and then start again, I would, because I don't know how else these little mites are going to be completely gone. If you've ever dealt with tropical rat mites, and something has worked that I've not mentioned, please let me know in the comments because I need it. But please just send good thoughts. These mites go away very soon because I do not want to be dealing with this any longer than I have to, and it has left me questioning where I stand when it comes to getting new rats or mice, because I haven't got new mice since September last year, I think. I've not brought any new animals into this house since then, so I have no idea where this has come from. If it's come from some animals I did get last year and it's just been dormant since then, or if it's come off of bedding that I've bought, or if it's come off of my dog, if my dog has somehow brought them in out of the fields or something. I just don't know. I don't want that to then spread to anyone else. I don't want to get new rats at the moment if they're then just going to be dealing with these mites as well. Obviously I can't not get any more rats. I've only got 3 at the moment and one is quite old, so I don't know where I stand. But yeah, I hope none of you watching this ever have to deal with this, because it's so frustrating, it's disgusting, it's itchy, it makes you feel trapped in your own home that you can't just like get rid of this thing that's causing issues. It's such a frustrating feeling that I wish could be a quick fix, but I don't think it's going to be. So hopefully none of you have to deal with this, but now hopefully you know what it looks like. If you see any of these bugs, don't ignore them, act quickly. The quicker you act, the less of an issue it's going to be. But hopefully now you know what to do just in case this does happen, because it does seem to be going around at the moment from the people that I've been speaking to. It didn't seem to be that much of a common issue, but maybe it's going to start to be. So just make sure if you do see them, you're treating your rats and mice. I don't know whether I might have to go to my vet and get something a bit stronger maybe, but I'm not seeing any on the rats anymore, which is good. Treat your rodents, all of them, just to be safe. Deep clean your rat cage, your mouse cage, everything around it. Buy certain sprays and stuff, but just make sure you're not spraying those or putting those with your animals in the room. Make sure you have ventilation and keep them outside the room if possible for as long as possible, just to be safe, just to make sure you're not affecting their respiratory systems. I think that is everything that I wanted to say on the topic. No doubt maybe in like 3 months time I might be making an update on this, because I don't think this is over, but hopefully this has helped. If you ever come across this issue yourself, I will leave as many resources as I can in the description. As I said, there's not a whole lot about this on the internet, specifically when it comes to pet rodents. It's mostly about like pest control, rodents that say, oh, keep the rats away from your house. You can't when you live with them. So I will leave as much as I can in the description. But hopefully this has been insightful. If you've never heard about tropical rat mites, I hadn't really heard much about them, so there you go. My bad fortune is a learning lesson for everyone else, but I will do an update on this if and when I find anything else that helps. As I said, please leave anything in the description if you have any more tips, but I might do an update on this in about 3 months time maybe, if things get worse or better. Right now things are good, but they could well and truly just make a return. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I kind of hope you didn't enjoy my misfortune at having this happen, but don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!